90 days. The 90-day journey was a success. What started as an accidental self-experiment slowly became something much, much more meaningful. It became a system. It became a framework. Thy freedom come. And that's the system that came out of that 90-day self-experiment. Thy freedom come becomes a real-time behavioral control framework, and it's centered around core idea of exploring that gap, that tiny window where control is still possible before the wave fully takes over, before the urge controls you. The gap. That gap is a tiny window. In fact, it's so tiny. Like it's between 0 to 600 milliseconds. And there's no human being could process that time frame. But if you take a snapshot of that time, freeze it, and expand it in the tiny gap from 0 to less than 2 seconds, you'll actually see there's a sequence of events that happens. From the time you feel that slight pull, that tiny sensation, that subtle change of shift, and then the brain starts to flash an image or a narrative or a memory that tells you to do something. And the next thing you know is that you're following that story. And then you participate. And then the next thing you know, you're acting it out. So there's a whole sequence of events in that time frame. From the awareness to the narrative to the fantasy, and then the action. It's a map. It's a pattern. So the emphasis of the framework is early interception, early interruption, awareness restoration, early awareness, like focusing your awareness from being late in the game to being early. And the key concept is once your attention awareness is trained to catch it early, then you have to train yourself not to feed it. Don't feed the narrative, don't feed the story before escalation begins. That's the key. And for the record, I did not invent anything. I simply organized existing knowledge, behavioral patterns, neuroscience, awareness training, and recovery principles into something easier to understand, easier to visualize, and easier to execute in real life, in real time, in the moment that you feel the urge. That's what TFC is all about. That's what Thy Freedom Come is all about. And it worked for 90 days for me. And not only for me, for others too. Because I've spent a lot of time on Reddit, and I use the same framework to help other people. But during the time that I'm talking to them, being in that forum, there's still one important question I cannot answer honestly through lived experience. And the question is, what happens after relapse? What does recovery actually look like after relapse? Not theoretically, not academically, but experientially. Like what it really likes to be in that situation. Right? So because the truth is, for the last 90 days, I have never fully relapsed. So I cannot honestly speak about it. I cannot honestly speak about recovery elasticity, awareness restoration after destabilization, how fast control returns after relapse. I don't know the answers to those questions. And if this experiment is going to be grounded in reality, then I have to acknowledge something honestly. If I continue applying Thy Freedom Come, the framework, the system, I may never fully relapse, which means there's no phase 2 experiment. So I made a decision that I need to go back. I need to do a phase 2 experiment. For the last 90 days, I've been using this system and it works. But the question remains, will it work still if I relapse? And to be honest, I'm taking the risk. Because in that 90 days, I've seen the positives of being free from that compulsive behavior, from being free from that addiction. I mean, the focus, being able to do deep work, deep focus without being interrupted by that intrusive thoughts, by that pull that matters a lot to me. I get a lot of work done without the interruption. Relationship, intimacy is a big thing. For the first time, being able to be present with your loved one when you're spending time with them, and being there in the moment, connected, real, without being present while your mind is somewhere. It's different. Those matters to me. But then I have to do it. I have to go back and live the experience of what it's like to relapse, so I can be able to provide an honest answer to those who ask. A testimony. But I don't know. And honestly, I'm scared. Will I be able to recover? How long? How fast? I honestly don't know. And that uncertainty is the experiment itself. So wish me luck.